USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Game of the Week podcast from US College Hockey Online at USCHO.com. An in-depth look at this week's top college hockey matchup and a preview of the other big games.
Welcome to the USCHO Game of the Week podcast. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving. I'm Ed Trefzger with Jim Connelly. Our Game of the Week has Harvard taking on number 15 Cornell at Madison Square Garden.
And we are joined right now by Harvard head coach Ted Donato. And Ted, this weekend, I think anytime Harvard plays Cornell, it's a big game. And I always remember tickets being pretty difficult in both Lina and over at Bright Landry. This weekend, you go to MSG. I'm sure the tickets are still going to be difficult to get, but now there's going to be a lot more fans there for this event.
Yeah, I think it should be a very good crowd. Unfortunately, I expect them to be probably a little bit more clad in red than crimson. So, what an incredible environment and opportunity for our guys to play in the world's most famous arena, as they say.
What was the genesis behind this? Obviously, Cornell has played Boston University a number of times down at MSG, but to have Harvard involved, how did that come about?
Well, I think basically, Cornell, I think, has some kind of deal there where they play every other year. And, we played in the rivalry on ice there a few times against Yale. We played one year down against Quinnipiac. So we both had a pretty good relationship, with Madison Square Garden. I think specifically in this case, I believe Cornell was scheduled to play Michigan. And when they had the coaching change, with Red leaving, I think that Michigan had other thoughts. And so Cornell, extended an invitation to us, and we were pretty excited about it.
I know that I've been around Hockey East long enough that I've watched a lot of BCBU. I've watched from afar Michigan State. Why is the Cornell-Harvard rivalry so special? What developed this rivalry, and what makes it still so special today?
Well, I think there's such great history there with, so many great players over the years, whether, you're talking about, the great Cornell teams, with Ken Dryden, with Joe Newendike, or guys like, Bill Cleary going way back, or Lane McDonald, Joe Cavanaugh. There's been so many great players through both the great universities that, there's just a great rivalry. I think Lina Arena is, one of the most exciting venues in college hockey, and they always seem to get pretty excited when we get up there. So, it's just a fun rivalry. I think there's an equal amount of anger and respect, a healthy amount, to make that rivalry really be pretty exciting.
We're talking with Harvard head coach Ted Donato, and I can't help but notice the season that your defenseman Adam Fox has already started to put together. 3 goals, 12 assists, 15 points in 7 games, leading the nation in points per game. He's a guy that's been around this program for a couple of years now. What does he add, not just from the back end, but obviously he's a big part of your offense as well?
Well, I think Adam Fox is flat out, in my estimation, the best player in college hockey. He's been a first team All-American for 2 years. I think his freshman year, I believe that he had more points per game than Butcher had at Denver when he won the Hobey Baker. So, as an 18-year-old freshman, so that kind of speaks to the offensive wizardry that he has. He's one of these guys that really makes others around him better on the ice. He knows how to utilize the strengths of other players, and he definitely is capable of raising his game in the biggest of spotlights. but he's a guy that, really is the centerpiece of our power play, but he, 5-on-5, he just does so many things. And as a former player, it's always interesting to see how different guys get it done. And with Adam, there's so much deception and so much false information that he puts out there that it's, you can only chuckle sometimes at some of the plays that he, imagines. And he's a leader of our team. We count on him in all, offensive and defensive situations, but we're very lucky to have him.
Ted, looking at your schedule to date, not an easy trek you've had. 4 of your 7 games against nationally ranked opponents. You played a Dartmouth team that's proven that they can score some goals. Even Yale, a rival, Brown, a team that has played pretty well. How do you assess where you are at this point, knowing that you may not have the record you want, but you also know that you've played some of your better teams right up front?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're in a results business, so I think it's Bill Belichick says you are what your record says you are, right? But we played pretty well. I mean, I think we have not delivered, whether it's a key save or a power play opportunity at the right time, but we've really battled. I love the way we played at Yale, tough environment with a lot of young guys. I thought we played very well this weekend. To get 43 shots on net against a good Arizona State team, and we had the chances as almost 2-1. It's disappointing not to get the win, but I thought the effort was there. I thought the structure is improving, and I think we feel that we could easily have a few more wins in the win column, but I think we're staying the course, and obviously a team like Cornell is a great challenge.
Ted, I look at the non-conference schedule that you've put together. Obviously, this game against Cornell is a non-conference game, but you're limited in the number of games you play. You throw the bean pot in there, the 2 games are automatically dedicated to that. You put Arizona State on the schedule for 2 at home, and you also put a game at Bentley on the schedule for non-conference. That's pretty interesting. It feels like an opportunity to play some different teams that maybe Harvard teams in the past might not have taken those chances.
No, I think when Arizona first come in to NCAA hockey, I think everybody was excited and everybody wants them to have success and spread the great game of hockey. And for us, we had an opportunity to go out to Arizona State, which gave us a chance to for our kids to have a really neat experience, to go out to the desert and open the season out there, play at where I think it's Gila Arena where the Coyotes play, and then to have them back. I'd be lying if I said 3 years ago we envisioned them being a top 15 team, but we were excited because they had some great wins that I think come in 9-3. I think they're doing a great job there, and as far as Bentley goes, I think Bentley's got the new arena. They've been nice enough to us to come visit us a couple times, and I think it's a 10-minute drive right down the street. So I think it's great opportunity for us to play a school that's close to us, a school that's also very good academically, a new arena, and we expect that to be a great crowd because I know they brought a great crowd over to Harvard when we played them the last couple times. So it's to me as a coach, I kind of look at it as if I was a player, and what kind of experiences would I like to have, and to be able to play somebody different, to be able to go out to Arizona State, to be able to play in Madison Square Garden. I think that to me is a life experience. And I also look at it and say, hey, if our guys get a chance to play in front of a great crowd at Madison Square Garden, in front of a great crowd at the Beanpot. Well, you know what? If we're good enough at the end of the year to have a chance to play for, some real hardware, we'll have had the opportunity and the experiences of playing in front of a big crowd.
We're talking with the Harvard head coach, Ted Donato. Before I let you go, obviously we're talking about this game against Cornell this weekend. You know this team pretty well from playing them many times in league play, a non-conference game on Saturday. But what are your thoughts, and what are some of the keys to having to play a Cornell team that we know is very good?
Well, I mean, I think anytime you play a Mike Schaefer team, you're playing against a team that's very well coached, a team that is very good defensively, usually a team with, great size and strength and the ability to possess the puck. So, I don't think they're all that much different than usual. They're an excellent team, probably a little bit more, a little bit more experience than we have at this point. But, they have, Matt Galaja, who, numbers-wise last year was as good a goalie as there was in college hockey. They're a team, I think, that everybody expected, would be up around the top of the ECAC and the national, scene. And, so they present a lot of challenges. And I think for me, the one good part about it is, they make you play such a sound game, that it really improves your team either way. And, for us, we want to keep getting better. Obviously, that message comes home a lot more enjoyably if you can get the win while doing it. But, I think it's always a battle. And I think the intensity of these games, is something that our players, really, remember and cherish.
Well, there will be a rivalry game between Harvard and Cornell Saturday night, 8:00 at Madison Square Garden in New York. Ted Donato, we really appreciate your time. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and obviously enjoy your experience down at Madison Square Garden this weekend.
Well, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys, and I think you guys do a great job for college hockey, and it's much appreciated.
This is the USCHO Game of the Week podcast from US College Hockey Online.
That's Harvard's Ted Donato. Always fun to talk to him, and I'm glad you had a chance to catch up with him earlier. He really lit up talking about Adam Fox, and I know it's not part of our normal preview, but he's got to be right up there in the consideration for the Hobey Baker Award. As Ted pointed out, he's got better numbers at this point than Will Butcher had when he won it.
I mean, more than 2 points a game. That's incredible numbers. And that's a pace that if you can keep maintaining, he's such a big part of their power play. He drives really their first power play unit, and that's a unit that's had some success. So as his success goes, so too does this team. I think he's a really important player for Harvard, and I think he's a real important part of the Hobey Baker conversation as the season moves along.
It would not be an upset, even though Harvard is unranked, if they down the Big Red at number 15, would it?
I don't think so. And I think for the fact of the matter that, anytime we talk about rivalry games, Michigan, Michigan State, BC, BU, you name it, even Colorado College, Denver, like some of those teams, when they play each other, you just kind of almost start to expect one of those upsets to fall into line. And I'm not surprised if, Harvard can go down there against a very good Cornell team. I don't think Harvard has played its best hockey, but it hasn't played bad to date. They're probably a better team than a 2-3-2 record reflects.
Well, as we heard earlier in the week when we talked with Brett Larson from St. Cloud, the NCHC doesn't schedule any league games this week, so no big matchups in that. The only league with a huge matchup between ranked teams is number 6 Penn State at number 5 Ohio State for a pair.
And talk about the battle of two forces. Ohio State, such a solid defensive club, one of the tops in the nation, against the top offense in Penn State that's averaging nearly 6 goals a game. So, which side will break? Will it be the offense that, somehow comes through, or will the defense be able to shut down this Penn State team? Will the Ohio State defense be able to shut down Penn State and maybe, find ways to win both these games? in Columbus, and that helps a lot. I think in terms of just giving you that home ice bump, but at the same time, you got to find a way to shut down Penn State. If you don't, they're going to score their 5, 6, 7 goals, and they're going to hope to allow 3, 4, or 5, and that's kind of that reality as to where Penn State is right now.
Yeah, the Nittany Lions have given up 6 goals in each of their last 3 games, winning 2 of those. They needed to score 11 and 7 to win. Only got 4 against Michigan. As we look at non-league games, this is a great matchup. And man, this would be a fun pair of games to watch. Number 9, Providence at number 7, Denver.
Yeah, we've talked about Denver a little bit. I wrote about them in Tuesday Morning Quarterback this week. They've been a team that's had some struggles at closing out games, but they've started well. They've gotten themselves out to leads and haven't closed every time. 3 of the last 4 games, they've lost leads of 2 goals or more throughout the game. A 3-goal lead they lost last Saturday night against Minnesota Duluth, falling 4-3 in overtime. Providence, they had a very tough weekend 2 weeks ago against UMass, where they outplayed their opponent but still didn't come away with wins. Last weekend, they changed that. They scored 14 goals in 2 games, so they're an offense that's flying high right now. This could be very interesting because I think both of these teams really can score some goals, like to score some goals, but both teams pride themselves on defense. So interesting to see where the scores come out of these games. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 2-1 game in here, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see a 7-6 game.
2-1 Friday, 7-6 Saturday. How's that?
Let's go with that, right?
Another interesting matchup, single game, 2 non-conference opponents. Number 18, Princeton at number 4, UMass on Saturday.
We all know that UMass is flying high right now, but Princeton has been no slack early in the season. So that is, I think it's a very interesting matchup. I think that Princeton has hit its bump in the road, and hopefully, I think, for the Tigers, their biggest bump was last weekend where they struggled both against Colgate and Cornell. Obviously, Cornell is a ranked opponent. We just mentioned them. But they've got to get back on track. This might not be the easiest team to get back on track against in UMass. This is a very good UMass team that is playing well. The fact that this game is in Massachusetts probably gives another little bump to UMass. It is Thanksgiving. You never know what home ice is this weekend. But, I like UMass in this game. Just kind of the naked stats of it all. Princeton, though, really needs this one. So sometimes hunger can win out.
I'm going to throw one in here just because it has big implications for the home team. Number 16, Arizona, moving up from 18 after the split against Harvard last weekend, travels for a pair at Omaha, and the Mavericks have been struggling. This is a big home non-conference series for them to try to turn things around.
Yeah, 2-7-1 for Omaha at this point in the season. They've already played Arizona State twice down there in Tempe and lost both of those games by scores of 6-3 and 7-2. So this is an opponent that kind of outmatched them on the road. Has Omaha improved a little bit in that time, to make this a more competitive series? I would think a little bit, but still not a good team, this Omaha team. They want to find ways to get good quality wins. This is one of those chances they're going to have.
Well, it's not enough for St. Lawrence and Clarkson, those ECAC, North Country of New York State rivals from just down the road. It's not enough for them to play twice. They got to add a non-conference game. That's Saturday, and they do it at Lake Placid.
I think both of these teams want to be in that arena in March when the ECAC championships are played there, but what a way to tune up, but then to play each other in a rivalry game, this is one of the more hated rivalries in college hockey. These two teams don't like each other. They're so close campus-wise, and I think that this should be a good test for both teams. St. Lawrence was able to pull off a win on the road last week at Minnesota. Clarkson has been kind of up and down this year. I think that this could be a really fun game, and obviously it's interesting to see two teams in the ECAC, more so the Cornell-Harvard game where neither of those schools being Ivy Leagues have that many non-conference options. Clarkson, St. Lawrence, yeah, they've got a few more games to play with, so you can throw a non-conference game in against a league opponent. But both of these games this weekend between ECAC teams, are non-conference, that you're not playing these as conference games, but you're using up one of your non-conference opponents.
Well, and then the last thing on the list, and this I know you got to visit a few years ago, and it was great. Yale and Union and BU and UConn, league competitors, but they're doing some non-conference games as part of that tournament in Belfast, Northern Ireland, the Friendship Four.
It really is a special event. And what they do over there in Ireland, it's not like a regular in-season tournament where you might play on Friday and Saturday and you arrive either late on Wednesday or you arrive early Thursday morning. This is something where these teams all left on Sunday morning, and they get the entire week over there in Ireland. I think most of the teams, maybe all four, spent a day or so in Dublin and then have traveled up to Belfast, which is a little over an hour away from Dublin. You get a little bit of the modern Ireland, which is Dublin, and then you go to Belfast and kind of see the old school city. And what a great place that is, and what a city for hockey. They just love hockey in Dublin. It's such a special little place. My Hockey's column this week will be really focused on that, so take a look. But it really is one of those special tournaments. Forget about the hockey. The hockey obviously is important. These teams want wins. These teams want to play games against each other and enjoy and compete. But the cultural experience that all of these players, 100+ players, will get over a 7-day period is just unmatched.
And hockey has been a unifying thing in a country or as some may say, an occupied territory, depending on which side of the fence you're on. But have had these religious struggles, and hockey has been a source of unity and togetherness for them.
That's very true. And, that was kind of the point of putting a team in Belfast. If you think of the other sports over there, football, rugby, hurling, all of those sports over there, big sports in the countries of Ireland, Northern Ireland, but most of the teams represent a town and thus represent either the Protestant or the Catholic religion based on how each town identifies themselves. And thus you have more religious wars than you do sports wars. And in terms of hockey over there, the one professional team in the entire country of Northern Ireland and Ireland combined, the only team is in Belfast, and they play all teams from Great Britain. So almost an adoption, particularly of Northern Ireland, obviously. Northern Ireland adopts that one team, and that they consider all of their rivals in England. So it became a unifying sport. There's no, you hear them say there's no colors involved, and a color like a red, a blue, a green, and orange all represent some sort of a religion over there and represent a county. This team's colors, the Belfast Giants, was intentionally made teal because nobody had adopted teal, and they felt that could be a very independent, a unifying color, and it's really worked out. It's a special place. I've never seen an international destination other than Canada that embraces the sport the way that Northern Ireland does. So I hope these players and coaches really enjoy themselves over there this week.
Well, there's some great hockey coming up this weekend. We'll recap it on Sunday on USCHO Weekend Review. That's it for now. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger. We'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Game of the Week podcast, a production of U.S. College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.